Well, no, I'll give it some time. A year or two. I don't want to get forced up there or anything like that. I don't think I've done well enough yet to get up there. I think if I have a good year this year, I might have a shot next year.
Good luck to you. See you Friday night.
Okay, thank you very much.
How do you like the opportunity to get to play with Eddie Brinkman? Because he was one of the fine infielders in Major League Baseball.
Oh, he sure was. I really enjoyed. Like in Bristol, he came and helped me, and then I was moved up, and I was in winter ball with him, and I've just been picking up a lot of things, and I think I've been improving a lot. And like you said, he was great.
The West Florida Triangle stretches from Mobile, Alabama to the Clearwater, Tampa, Florida area. It's a favorite route for millionaires and their yachts. The area is not patrolled frequently by authorities, and drug smugglers favor the route, bringing drugs from South America aimed at the West Florida, South Alabama coastline. On October 25, 1976, Montgomery millionaire businessman John Dite, 3 passengers and his yacht, the Flying Dutchman, took the West Florida Triangle. By midday the next day, all had vanished without a trace.
The lodgeman saw him leave at 7:30 from within the lodge, but nobody knows exactly what time they left the lodge. They went out here by the tub, going into the Gulf, and stopped at Anderson's Pool and topped off with gasoline fuel. They paid for it with 2 travel checks. Put on about $75 of fuel, which would have probably topped off the tank. And from the start, when the boat supposedly disappeared, it just seemed absolutely ridiculous to me that a boat that size would go down in weather that was not inclement, and with 2 very knowledgeable seamen aboard. Terry and John knew the sea very well, and they certainly knew that boat. And the fact that there was absolutely not one trace of debris found, you can say all you want to, but boat that size, 47-footer, there's got to be something that floats. There was never even an oil slick. There's just got to be some debris left. And then from there, it was rather difficult to get information at first, but we finally pieced together the fact that the boat had left from the Holiday Lodge and had gone out of its way to the pass. Actually not out of its way, if it intended to go out of that pass and head into the open sea. And then when I heard that the boat had come back into the intercoastal and was sighted under those bridges, that was just idiotic to me because I knew Terry and John very well, and they loathed the intercoastal. The whole thing just didn't fit together, and it didn't fit them as I knew them.
The initial search for the Flying Dutchman took several days and covered thousands of miles in the Gulf of Mexico. The crew of the Coast Guard cutter the Dependable coordinated that search from here in Panama City.
During this search of 4 days, a total of 103,000 square miles of sea area were extensively searched by aircraft and the Coast Guard cutter Dependable. October 29th, we were tied up here in Panama City and received a call from our operational commander in New Orleans stating that there was a pleasure craft Flying Dutchman overdue from Apalachicola to the vicinity of Tarpon Springs, Florida. We got underway at 2 p.m. and arrived on scene approximately 20 miles south of Apalachicola about 7 p.m. and commenced a night search. There had already been 9 aircraft on scene searching throughout the 29th of October. We arrived at Tarpon Springs, turned about, came back towards Apalachicola for the second day of the search. We had 10 aircraft on scene that day. It was an extensive search. On the 30th of October, the weather did deteriorate. Although we still had good visibility in overcast skies, winds increased to gust up around 35 knots. And we got a lot of blowing spray out there, which made the surface search pretty rough. The weather did improve on the third day. The seas did decrease and the wind decreased and shifted a little bit to the northeast. And that was our best day for searching as far as visibility. We completed the third day with negative sightings again, and the fourth day search pattern was again expanded with 9 aircraft arriving on scene. The weather again started to deteriorate on us, and we completed the search that evening with negative sightings from ourselves or any of the aircraft.
Well, all you can do is hope.
The Flying Dutchman came in shortly before noon on the 26th of October and docked over at the Rainbow Marina dock, which is about 100 feet from my dock here. They tied up and walked through and checked in our office there to see if it would be all right to leave the boat an hour or two in order for them to eat lunch and pick up some groceries uptown. I saw the two couples walk through our breezeway, walk on through our Rainbow Motel yard, and toward the grill restaurant where they were going to eat lunch. This was around noon. I later went to my Rotary Club meeting and came out of there about 1:30. I drove home for a minute or two and then came back to my dock, and sometime after 2 o'clock I saw the people, two couples, walking back with some groceries in their arms, and they walked back and got aboard their boat, untied their lines, and departed. They did not fuel. They went under the bridge, and the bridge opened for the Flying Dutchman. And that's the last that I saw the Dutchman that day.
Well, the Flying Dutchman was a very seaworthy vessel with a long range, with fuel capabilities to go a long ways, had fairly good communications and electronics gear, and by that virtue, I'd say probably yes, it would be a prime suspect.
I wish I knew some more about a boat called the Quick and Easy, a 57-footer that stopped at Appalachia and then went out and disappeared some months before Johns did. Actually, the commander of the Coast Guard that was at this Senate hearing said that over 40 boats have disappeared in, I've forgotten, the last 6 years from the panhandle waters of Florida. One was a family from Mobile, and well, I don't know all of them. I'd love to investigate all of it and see if the pattern follows.
Well, of course, I have no way of knowing, and anything that I say is just guess, purely conjecture on my part. But on this particular trip, I think it was very windy, and I'm sure the Gulf was rough. And I just don't know what happened to them.
The weather was rough that day, and it could have. Well, you hear all kind of waterfront stories about it being taken to other countries, but there's nothing to make us believe that that's what happened.
Well, first of all, we don't know what happened to them. They disappeared without a trace. Several things that could have happened, just in conjecture. They could have had a fire and explosion, very rapid, to prevent them from getting off a distress call. Another thing could happen would be the seas were rough. They could have had a massive hull fracture, and water flooded out their electrical plant so rapidly they couldn't get a distress call off. Other possibilities, they could have taken off for parts unknown for reasons only known to themselves. And a final possibility is that they met with foul play, in other words, hijacked.
I think there's no doubt that, in my mind, that she was hijacked.
And I came on a sailboat, and they were waving their arms, and so I pulled up about 20 yards from it and didn't get any closer, and I asked them if they had had a fire, and they said no, but they were taking on water. So I radioed the Coast Guard and gave my approximate position, and then held position and advised them that I would hold my position in case they needed assistance. The reason being, I just would be very leery of pulling up right alongside another boat in open water unless I knew them and knew who it was.
Many questions remain in the search for the Flying Dutchman and John Dite. Some of them are, was there a third couple aboard the yacht? Did they force Dite and the other people aboard to come down through the intercoastal waterway? Is the boat lying on the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, or is it in South America somewhere? These and other questions remain in the search for the Flying Dutchman. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News, Apalachicola Bay, Florida.